Welcome to a bonus episode of the Brave Widow Show. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you a replay of a recent live event that I held where I walk widows through the fact that our old life is over and we can't go back. And so often we're looking for ways to go back, to feel normal. And the reality is that we can't go back. Our old life is now in ash. However, what we can do is we can decide to build a new life. And we can decide to build something that we can actually eventually enjoy again. And in this live event replay, I walk you through how we actually make that happen, the 4 seasons of grief framework, and what to focus on through these seasons. And of course, it invites you to join me in the Brave Widow Academy. So enjoy the replay, and I would love to see you in the Academy. If I remember to record it. So I've got YouTube stream going. I've got the Zoom room. So if you want to be in the Zoom room with me, go to bravewidow.com. You can sign up and still get the link for the Zoom. And then I've got TikTok going. And that's amazing. I'll manage all the screens here. So Gigi says she's from California. Debbie is from Colorado. Margaret is from Toronto, Ontario. Amazing. Sue, OG, Brave Widow right there. Sue is from Indiana. Welcome. Okay, we have a lot. We have a lot of ground to cover today. So, hi Jay. I'm doing a lot. What am I doing? I am doing a live training. That is what I am doing. So, all right. I'm going to move my chat over and I'm going to make sure my folks here can see my screen okay. Here we go. Perfect. All right. Can everybody see my screen and hear me okay? Just type yes in the chat if you're with me. What is this free training on? This is called We Can't Go Back, How to Create a Life You Actually Love Again. That's what we're doing. Yes, you can see my screen and you can hear me. Amazing. Okay. We are going to get started here quickly because we have a lot to cover. And I gave myself an hour and a half, but I don't know. I may go over. So fortunately, I hit record. So if you can't stay and we do go over, I will have that on the replay. That is not a problem. All right, so I am going to get started just by saying a prayer because that is how I roll. So let's pray real quick. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for our time together today. And thank you for the ability just to speak into the lives of everyone that is here with me and help us to be able to pull out of this training today one thing that you'd like us to walk away with and that we can implement immediately. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Sorry, I've got a sinus thing. I don't know what it is. It won't go away. Just bear with me. That would be amazing. Okay, so if you're not in the Zoom room, you can't see my screen, just bear with me. But today I'm going to walk through my story and who I am. We have lots of new people that probably don't know who I am and why I'm talking about this. And sometimes I still get questions if I'm actually even a widow. So, yes, I am a widow. And yes, I have experienced all the things that come with widowhood. So, I'm going to walk through my story. And then I'm going to talk about the problems that we face. Like, why is it so hard to figure out how to go from deep grief to healing your heart to building a life that you love? And we're talking about some like pieces of the puzzle that we try to figure out and like mush together, but why we have a problem in not knowing how to do that on our own. Hint, it's not you. Then I'm going to talk about the solution, then I am going to invite you to join me in the Brave Widow Academy. And if you guys are okay with that, I would love to tell you about some bonuses we have that are going on today. So if you're good with that, type yes in the chat, please. And then I'll know if you're good with me sharing that. Lots of hearts and yeses over here. Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, so this, if you can see my screen here, this is a picture of my family. So just at 4, it's hard to believe. It's been 4 years as of this month. Um, if you would have asked me 4 years ago if I ever would have thought that I would be able to sit here and share my story, I would say absolutely not. 4 years ago, my life was completely changed. July 17th of 2021, I watched as my best friend and my husband was taken away from our home just 3 weeks short of our 20-year wedding anniversary. So watch as the ambulance came and took him from our home, never to return. We both had COVID, and COVID nowadays is different than COVID was back in 2021 when the Delta variant was coming out. And so we had both been bedridden. This was actually since right before the 4th of July. We were supposed to have a family vacation. I had some friends coming in, and I'm glad my friends came in because they took care of my kids while my husband and I were bedridden that entire week. And eventually I had to call the ambulance because he couldn't get out of bed anymore and couldn't keep anything down. We had COVID, it morphed to double pneumonia and spiraled into a lot of other things. And there were lots of ups and downs. He would be in ICU for 11 days. Half of that time, he would end up being unconscious on a ventilator. And then one day, I would just be called to the hospital and sat in a room where I waited for an hour and a half. And finally, the physician walked in the room and she sat down, and there was no warmth, there was no kindness, there was no smile. She just looked at me across the table and said, "We think your husband is brain dead." And in that moment, my entire world just stopped. And I tried to wrap my mind around how did we actually get here? How did we get here? And fast forward, they would run a few tests, ultimately declare him brain dead. And I had to figure out how I was going to go home and tell my 4 teenagers that their dad had died. So here's a picture of just a few weeks later. So 3 weeks later, I was supposed to host family and friends over for our 20-year wedding anniversary celebration. And if you see the screen, you can see that I literally already ordered the t-shirts for that celebration. So instead of having family and friends over to celebrate our 20-year wedding anniversary, I had family and friends over to celebrate Nathan's life and to honor him. Several months later, close to a year later, I had this memorial garden built for Nathan in our side yard of our house. And this garden was supposed to be a beautiful place that was like a great memory and tribute to Nathan's life. And instead of it being a place where I was comforted by it, it was a place that I was tormented every day because every day it was just a reminder that he was never coming back. So I remember I was sitting on this exact bench that you see here one afternoon, and I was just sobbing like it was supposed to help me feel better. And instead, I would just go out there and cry my eyes out, right? And I remember I was just sobbing uncontrollably so bad that my chest hurt. And I thought my heart was just gonna explode. Like there was so much pain that I just didn't want to live anymore. And so I cried until the tears just wouldn't come. And I thought about my kids, and I thought about how essentially, even though I was still alive, that effectively they had lost two parents because I felt dead on the inside. And I thought about how I could understand why a surviving spouse dies of a broken heart because that's what I wanted. But the longer I sat there and the more I thought about my kids and people who relied on me, I thought, I decided that I needed to choose to live for them. I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know how anyone like got over grief. I didn't know like how would I ever enjoy life again? What would ever be the point? But I decided that I was going to figure out some way, somehow to actually get over grief, get over this hurdle that weighed me down every day and learn how to actually enjoy my life again. And so I remember as I was sitting there, right before I got up, I closed my eyes and I said, Nathan, I love you and I miss you. And I can't live like this anymore. I have to figure out how to move forward. And so I stood up, I walked into the house, and that was really the beginning of my journey of a stubborn personality, whether you want to call it perseverance, resilience, stubborn, whatever. But I wanted to learn everything I could about grief. So I read all the books. I talked to hundreds of widows. I even launched a podcast called The Brave Widow Show. And I interviewed there over 100 widows of their story and what helped them and how they got to a point that they felt that they were on the journey of healing. How did they get unstuck? What helped them the most? I began my own journey of like radical healing and then starting to go on my own adventures. I've traveled now to 5 new countries. I started real estate investing. I got to go meet Dave Ramsey in person. I'm now a public speaker. I've been able to go on so many wonderful and amazing adventures that I never even thought possible. I never even anticipated when I first started out on this journey. And I'm happy to also share that just over a year, about a year and a half now, I got remarried to the most amazing, supportive, wonderful human being and gained a bonus son in the process. And so my approach to serving widows and how Brave Widow is different is that this is not just a grief recovery container where I walk you through a program of learning about grief recovery and learning about emotional healing. We do that. There is a space for that. And our focus is on healing your heart and rebuilding a life that you can actually love. So I was trained rigorously by a 20-year practicing clinical psychologist who is also faith-based, which is highly unusual. To have a psychologist who trains you on counseling tools, on psychology tools, on spirituality and divine guidance, and incorporating that into a practice of coaching clients and working with clients, and so I became certified through her Life Coaching Academy and also through the Grief Recovery Institute, which is not faith-based, excuse me. It's an evidence-based program, which means it was independently studied and proven to effectively work in grief recovery. So that's my background, who I am, and why I'm here talking to you today. So, are you in the right place? I had some people asking me in the chat, like, what is this about? Somehow I ended up on this. I'm not even sure what I signed up for. And for people on Zoom, if you'll notice at the bottom of your chat, there is a thing that says to host and panelists and a thing that says to everyone. So if you want to type in the chat to everyone, just flip that to everyone and everyone will see that. If you only want me to see it, you can change it to host and panelist. And if you're in Zoom, at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box. So if you have a question, put it in the Q&A box because that creates a list for me of all the questions and I make sure that your question doesn't get lost. Okay, so you're in the right place if you are tired of feeling stuck, numb, or lost, and you're tired of just getting by. So put a fire emoji in the chat, put a heart in the chat if any of these resonate with you. If you want clarity, confidence, and connection instead of feeling isolated and not being sure what's next. If you've tried therapy, you've tried grief groups, you've tried just giving it time, but you still feel hollow. If you're ready to stop waiting for life to get better and you're actually ready to start creating a life and creating an experience that is better. If you are faith-based and you want to be able to honor your past while building a new chapter for your future, then you are in the right place. Okay? You are not in the right place. Okay? This is not for everyone. So, how do you know if you're not in the right place? If you are waiting for time to heal you and your mantra, your philosophy is I'm just going to wait on time. If you're looking for a quick fix or a magical solution, I don't have a magic pill to sell you. Okay, what we do is deeply transformative and it's a journey, it's a process. If you're unwilling to invest time and energy, you're not in the right place. This takes time, takes energy, it takes effort. If you live in a mindset of, I can't do it, I don't want to learn, you're wrong. People love to tell me that in the comments all the time. You make it sound so easy. It's not that easy. Okay, I'm telling you, it's not easy, but it's simple. We can make it simple. Okay. If you're looking for traditional grief group or counseling, I'm not a counselor, not a licensed counselor. I do host grief recovery sessions, but as one of my friends put it, this is like grief recovery plus. It's like grief recovery, but also a lot of focus on life coaching and life building. We're very forward focused. We're very action based. Okay. Therapy is great for unpacking and processing. Coaching is great for getting you to step forward. Okay. So that's how you know if you are in the right place. Okay. So what are the problems that we face that keep us from being able to move forward or that keep us feeling stuck? Have you guys ever felt that? Put like a little fire emoji or something in the chat. Have you felt like stuck and you just don't know, yeah, am I doing this whole grief thing right? Am I stuck? Am I lost? Like I'm I'm just confused. If you have ever felt that, put that in the chat. Okay. All right. I love it. Fire, 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 and hearts. Perfect. Okay. There's a reason for that. And it's really caused by three main problems. If I had to simplify it, why this is so hard is there are three main problems. Okay. So we're going to walk through each of these. We have isolation, we have lost confidence, and we have a lack of guidance. Okay, so the first problem that we have, the first challenge that we have here is that one of isolation. So the statistic that I read is that 75 widows will lose 75% of their social circle in the first year. Have you guys experienced that? Put a yes in the chat. Throw up an emoji, a sad face, whatever you have, let me know in the chat. Have you ever felt that? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. And for some people, it's more than 75%. For some people, it's more like 99% or 100%. But it feels like everybody just disappeared. Like you're like, where did everybody go? They're all gone. We also can feel like we're not even the same person that we were before, that we're a totally different person than we were. So we're isolated, we feel alone. We feel that other people don't really understand us anymore or understand this journey that we're on. We also have lost confidence. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you feel broken. Maybe you second guess every single decision. Maybe you find yourself waffling all the time. Should I do this? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Okay, we lost our safety net. Even I had a client that told me, she's like, I used to make every decision. My husband literally did not want to make any decisions. But it was the fact that I could sit there and talk to him about it that made me feel like if I was about to drive off a cliff, like he would say something, and now I don't have that anymore. We are afraid to try new things. Has there been things that you've been afraid to try? We even lose confidence in ourselves. Like, well, who would want to be my friend? All my friends left me. The people who liked me, the people who used to do things with me, they left me. So why would anyone else want to be my friend? Why would anyone else be interested in getting to know me? So we have isolation, we have we have lost confidence, and we also have a lack of guidance, which is like, how am I supposed to do this whole thing, right? We go to counseling, some of us, we unpack, we process, we start to emotionally heal. And then we're like, well, now what do I do? Right? Or we go to a grief share, or we go to grief recovery method, or we go to another recovery program. And you can go through the programs multiple times, but you may get to a point where you're like, the number one question that I get is, what do I do next? What am I supposed to do? Tell me. When I was in grief and navigating it, I felt the best word to describe it is that I felt untethered. I felt like I was a tiny boat in the middle of this huge ocean with water all around me. All these waves were just smacking me around with grief, right? And I'm just like spinning out there in the ocean. And I felt so lost. I didn't even know which way to turn the boat, much less move it forward. And that was scary to me because I have always been very clear, very ambitious, driven, clear. Like you talk about someone who thinks about goals and dreams every day, multiple times a day. That's me. My husband and I, we already knew our retirement plans, okay? We were going to Wyoming. We were going to live on a 1,000-acre ranch with a bazillion horses, live out in the wilderness, away from everybody. And that was our retirement plan. And all of a sudden, I didn't want that anymore. I'm like, I don't even know who I am or what I want. There was no guidance. There was no compass. I didn't know where I was going. Okay. So we often think like, is this normal? Is it even possible to enjoy life again? Like I thought I was doing better. Am I doing this too soon or not soon enough? Like everyone has an opinion, but there's not one clear voice telling us how to move forward. And then this last one, how many of you have heard or said, I just need to give it time? Yep. Yes, 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 me. I just need to give it time. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about time. And I'm going to tell you about Sobia, who was on the Brave Widow show, episode number 110, if you want to go back and watch that or listen to that. But I think her story is very telling in time and how we think we just need to give things time, right? So Sobia is a young widow. Her children were ages 5 and 8 when her husband died. And she thought, like most widows, that you just need to give it time. She kept waiting to feel normal again. She kept like powering through, going through the motions. Have you guys done that? You're just like going through the motions, you're getting up, going to work, or doing your thing every day, and you're just like waiting. Magically, you're going to feel better, right? And so Sobia did the same. And she did that for 3 years. Okay, 3 years. And 3 years later, COVID happened. And she found herself in an area that had lots of lockdowns and quarantines. And so she spent a lot of time with her kids. And she realized one of the things as she began to talk more with her kids and spend more time with her kids was that even though they were so proud of her for going through the motions, for being strong, for like keeping it together, that they felt incredibly disconnected from her. And they felt like they were just kind of watching her do her thing out there in the world, and they were all waiting to feel better. Yes, this person says, I'm still doing it 5 years later. Yep, still waiting. So when she started to have these open conversations with her kids, it broke her heart. And she started to talk really reflect on how she felt, really talk about where her head and her heart were. And she realized 3 years later, she tells you this in the podcast, 3 years later, she actually felt worse than she did when her husband died. So time did not magically make her feel better. So what she decided to do was to start to process her pain. She started with journaling, she started with some reflecting, she started really processing her emotions and facing her grief and facing her pain for the first time. I'm proud to share that now Sobia is in a much better place. She's actually a coach now and helps other people through grief. But she's very adamant with people that waiting and just giving it time doesn't magically help you to feel better. The way I like to think about it is just like a physical wound. Like, let's say you broke your arm, okay? If you broke your arm, like let's say it's bad, okay? You go immediately to seek for help. You go to the doctor, you go to the emergency room, wherever you go, you would go seek medical attention. You don't sit back and say, well, I'm just going to give it time and my arm's going to heal. Okay. Now, can a broken bone heal over time? Can it? Yeah, kind of. Is it going to be set correctly? Maybe, maybe not. There are some injuries that if they heal, if the bones heal and fuse back together a certain way, the bone may actually have to be rebroken in order to be set correctly and then allow it to heal in its proper state. So time is a component. How I think about time is a component. You can't just magically heal and everything's perfect tomorrow. Time is a piece of that, but time isn't the only thing. Time is only going to create more of what it is that you're doing. So, what is the solution through these three problems that we have talked about? Okay. The solution and what I teach and coach widows through and how we rebuild a life that we love again is through a framework called the 4 Seasons of Grief. And for the first time, my Brave Widow community, they got to vote on the names of what we're going to name these 4 seasons of grief. So for the first time, they're getting to see the results of their survey. So for those of you who can't see my screen, we call it Rising Through Grief. So it's rawness, isolation, self-discovery, and empowerment. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through each of these and what they look like. And for people, whether I work with them one-on-one in coaching or whether they're part of the community or one of my clients, um, I have a set number of things that we focus on in each season. So if you want to know, so many of the people who write to me, who comment to me, who they want to know, like, what if I'm still in deep grief and I've been there, like the person that said they were there for 5 years? What am I supposed to do? How do I move forward? What is my next step? I'm going to tell you what to focus on in each season in order to be able to move forward. Okay. So you're going to get all of that today. So as I describe each season, if you are experiencing it now or you've experienced it in the past, tell me in the chat. I'd love to know. You could put an emoji. You can say yes or me or however you want to describe that, but I want to know in the chat, okay? So the first season of grief we call rawness. And this is really a season where you may feel shame, you may be overwhelmed by sadness, you may feel guilty or regret, and you're really just in survival mode. Like it's hard to function, you have brain fog often. You now have all of these tasks that you're responsible for. It may feel like your nervous system is on edge or on fire. You may feel like you're living in fight or flight mode. So, have any of you guys experienced that? Karen says, me too. Sue, I was there. Yes. Okay. So, this is often what we call survival mode. So, One of the number one questions I get is if I'm still in this season, even if it's years later, what do I focus on? What am I supposed to do? Okay. So the first thing that we always start with is emotional healing. And I recommend Grief Recovery Method as a starting point. It's a tool that I use. It's a great program and process. You can do it virtually, you can do it in person, whether you do it with me or not, you just need to do it, okay? But processing your emotional pain and your hurt is like one of the first things that we want to start with. We also want to adjust our expectations for what we can actually do. So even if you are an ambitious, driven, accomplished person, now all of a sudden you're reeling with like I can't even function, like I can't do now things that I used to do in the past, much less all these other things that just got piled on my shoulders because my spouse used to do them, right? So we want to adjust and lower our expectations for what we expect for ourselves. We want to learn how to ask other people for help and how to accept help. Because while we can feel overwhelmed, we also are very quick to decline help. I should be able to handle it. I'm good. I should be able to do this. Why can't I, do these same things? I don't want to be a burden to anyone. Does that sound familiar? Carter says, I'm close to the 1 year mark, so starting to feel myself slip back towards rawness. Sharna said, tore my heart apart. Yes. Okay. So emotional healing, adjust our expectations, ask for and accept help. And then the fourth one is creating physical and emotional safety. So what happens when you experience a trauma like losing a spouse, which is by Statista, been rated as the number one most stressful life event that humans go through, losing a spouse, okay? What happens in our mind is the same trauma as if a tiger is chasing you down the street, okay? Like think about like caveman days when you were in physical imminent danger and you just react or you freeze or you run away or you do what you have to do to survive. Your body produces adrenaline, it produces cortisol, it gets you all keyed up, right? And you're hyper aware of everything. Okay. So you go in a crowd and everything's like super overwhelming, and you go to the grocery store and you just feel all hyped up, and you never feel that you can just let your shoulders down and just go like, I'm good. I'm like rested. I'm calm. I feel so peaceful. Very rarely does it feel that way. Like you're keyed up all the time. And so one of the things that we focus on here is we need to create experiences where we're bringing our mind or bringing our body to intentional safety. What does that actually mean? Okay. So what we're trying to do basically is to reprogram your body and your mind that you are safe. As the underlining fear, anxiety, have you guys felt a lot more anxious when you were in this season? Like really afraid, like even making a decision. If I make the wrong decision, like my experience was I was so afraid that something was going to happen to my job and I was going to go broke and I was going to get fired and then we would be bankrupt and then we're going to be homeless and then we're going to be out on the streets and then we're going to get kidnapped and like it just on and on and on and on, right? And the underlying theme is like, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. Because everything that you knew about reality and what was real and what was safe is now been shattered. And so the part of your brain, the amygdala, the part of your brain that keeps you alive and keeps you safe, actually, they call it hijacks your brain. That instinctual, I have to survive part of your brain takes over the part of your brain that thinks logically and clearly. This is why we have brain fog. This is why we can't make decisions without going back and forth all the time. This is why everything feels like the stakes are really high. If I make this wrong decision, I'm screwing up my entire life. I'm screwing up my kids' lives. This is like, oh, it's a huge decision. And it's really not, but it feels that way. Okay. That's when we know we need to come bring ourselves, our mind and our body like down into places where we feel safe, we feel fully at peace, we're relaxed because we're like programming our nervous system that we're safe. Your body was meant to run on adrenaline for short periods of time, for like sprints, right? Tigers chasing you down the street, you're like sprinting down there. Your body wasn't meant to run on adrenaline and cortisol for long periods of time. So when you live in that for years, then you start to notice things manifest physically, whether it's an illness, it's an accident, it's an injury, it's chronic pain that pops up. Those are all things that oftentimes can be tied to periods of grief or loss. How do you find that space? Great question. This is really going to depend on each person. Where I like to start are things that totally set you at peace. That could be meditation. It could be breathing exercises. It could be yoga. It could be putting a puzzle together. It could be gardening, crafting. A lot of people tend to do things that are almost tedious or very creative because you cannot operate really in a creative way if you're under a lot of duress. So you've heard of things like art therapy, writing therapy, um, whatever that is for you, getting a massage. Yeah, Shauna says stretching helps. Somebody, Candy Crush. Well, I don't know if that's super relaxing, but okay. Well, if it maybe Candy Crush for you. Whatever it is that just lets you go, oh, I'm good. I'm okay. Okay. Those are the things that you're looking for in that moment. Sue said, I was very scared of every decision that I had to make. Yes. Karen says, I still have brief moments of this occasionally, but now I've learned to coach myself through it. What once went on and on now has a quick end. Perfect. So in Brave Widow, what we teach are the Heal Your Heart method, which is what I use with Grief Recovery Method, and also the Calm to Chaos Blueprint. And in there, I teach you how to set a routine where you can have a semblance of normalcy in a normal life. And you can also integrate some of the bigger rocks or like bigger things that you want to get done. So, for example, I have a client who wanted to declutter her home. And she's like, it's going to take me 2 years. I think I set a goal of 2 years. And I'm like, we're not letting this take 2 years. We're going to come up with your routine and we are going to plan out some times where you can do things like declutter your home or get some of your bigger goals accomplished. And guess what, guys? She's already overachieving what we set on the plan, which is amazing. So shout out to her. She knows who she is. Patty says, yes, it should be chaos to calm. I totally have that flip-flopped here. We don't want to go to chaos. Patty says a simple walk, noticing the sky, listening to birds, and breathing can help too. Yes. And for Karen, she says music has been huge for me. Yes. All right. So briefly, I know I got to speed it up here. Okay. Briefly, I just want to introduce you to one of my clients named Michelle. And if you are not on Zoom, you can't see her beautiful picture, but she is a young mom. Young mom. She is a young widow, a mom of four, a military widow. And I worked with her. We started a year ago. And she was struggling with having a sense of routine, having consistency, managing the household, working on healing her heart. She was very much in that rawness state of feeling a lot of guilt and just all of the big emotions. She also struggled a lot with her confidence. I think it was like a 2. When we rated it on a scale of 1 out of 10, I think it was a 2 or a 3 when we started. And we worked together, and 6 months later, she got back on the call and she rated her confidence 9 out of 10. And she's like, I don't even know who I am. Who is this person on the call? Like, I feel so much more confident. I feel so much more at peace. And I realize that now, between myself and through the God who lives in me, that I can do things. I can be confident in myself. I can know that I will figure things out. And I sharing here a graduation picture that was just taken. Uh, Recently, I got to go to Key Largo and watch. This is actually two of my clients here, both of them young widows who worked through healing their heart, rebuilding their life, and they decided to be coaches in different areas. So Michelle is now a certified life coach. And Luli, the other person here, she is has started her own business as a personal trainer and nutrition coach. And both of these ladies are faith-based. They are amazing people, and I'm glad to get to share a little bit about them with you. All right, so season one was Rawness. Season two is what we call isolation. So that first season, we really are in survival mode, can't function very well. I have a lot of widows that get referred to me in this season, and they just most of the time feel really overwhelmed and like, I'm just not ready. I need some more time. So as we get our feet underneath us, we get into our new routine. For me, what happened was it was like I had my new routine. I knew what my life was. And I looked around and I was like, is this it? Like this is my life, this, like 40 or 50 years of this? What? This is awful. I hate this. Like this is my life now. You know, it's like you go through counseling or you go through a grief program, they pat you on the back, you're done, and you're just looking around at this wasteland. You're like, what am I supposed to do now? And no one has the answer, right? I also think about this as when we are in deep grief, we tend to isolate, we pull into our cave, we turn inward because our whole world has just exploded and we're trying to function, we're trying to get through the day, and so we've like hibernated back in this cave. And now as we're starting to get our feet underneath us, we step forward, like we're coming out of the cave and we're looking around and everybody's gone. Have you guys have experienced that, right? Like everybody just poof, vanished. You're like, where did everybody go? So often in isolation, you feel hollow, dull, lonely. I felt like I was a shadow of my former self. You start to question who you are now. Am I a wife? Am I not a wife? Am I single? Am I not single? Am I married? Am I not married? Do I wear my ring? Do I not wear my ring? Right? You really question your purpose. Like, well, especially if you don't have kids at home, it's like, well, who needs me now? Right? Like, what am I here for? And generally, you feel stuck. This is really where most people start to find me. And the number one question they have is, what am I supposed to do next? What do I focus on? I don't know. Okay. So things that we focus on when you're in the second season of isolation, this is what I call maintenance mode. This is a really great place to create what I call your dream schedule, like what you want your new routine to start looking like. This is a good time to start getting plugged into a community of other people who are on a similar journey. Natalie says, absolutely. Debbie says, I felt and still feel this. Isolation, we're also starting to explore our new identity of who we are. And we begin to have like little tiny dreams. Usually, this is where people are still pretty skeptical, like, can I enjoy life again? Would I want to? Why would I want to? Why would I want to enjoy my life again? My person's not even here. So it's usually skeptical that it is possible to enjoy life or that they would want to. Like, why would I want to? That's usually another question that we have. So we want to focus on joining a community to help overcome some of the loneliness here, starting to explore who we are. What do we want our schedule to look like? What do we want our life to look like? And what are these small dreams? So when we are at a point where we do goal setting and planning with widows, I always acknowledge that you may be at a point where you're like, I have no goals. I have no dreams. I just want my life back. Okay. Understandable. So when I talk about small dreams, what I mean here is like, what do you want more of in your life right now? And it could be more kindness, more gentleness, more feeling connected and seen. Doesn't have to be a humongous goal like, oh, I want to be on a TV show or I want to travel, Emily, I want to do all those things that you did, right? Like in the beginning, it seems almost even pointless. So these are the things that we focus on when we're in the second season of grief. And we also have a system for that called the self-trust system, which is where we rebuild confidence. So we rebuild confidence in ourselves. We rebuild confidence in our ability to do things, to navigate the unknown, to navigate through fear. We also learn how to set up a board of advisors. So you learn how to set people, a board of advisors around you to help you make those big decisions, to help you feel like you have a safety net. And so I teach you how to pick out those people, who they should be, different types of people who should be on your board of advisors so that you don't feel so alone and like you're just navigating this all on your own. Meet Karen. Karen, I think you're still with me on the Zoom. Everybody say hi, Karen. Karen has been very public, and I am eternally grateful, Karen, forever. With her story on the podcast and being willing to share her story. Some people are very open with sharing their story and their pictures and what their experience has been. And I've got other people lined up who are happy to do the same. And other people who are like, there is no way I ever want my face out there. And I'm not comfortable with that. And both are totally okay. That's perfectly fine. So Karen's story, Karen joined Brave Widow back around November. We were doing like a fun Black Friday thing, and she joined, and it had been 3-ish years since her husband had died, and she just still felt stuck. She'd tried counseling. Karen she tried counseling. That wasn't a great fit. She tried grief groups. That wasn't a great fit. She felt frustrated, right? And she was at a point where she was like, I have to try something. And she's like, I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna put it on the credit card. I'm gonna go for it. Like I have to do something. This sounds like something that could work for me. And later on, I think it was December, her leadership at her work sat her down and was like, the work performance, the work interactions, we need to see a change here. And I used to have to sit down and have those conversations with people. It's never a fun conversation on either side. And for her, it felt like somewhat of a wake-up call of I have to do something different. But just a few months later, we walked through grief recovery method. We had also been doing some coaching, and the next meeting that she had with her leadership and her workplace was like, what are you doing that's different? Like you are showing up totally different than you were before. We had this mandatory, like who loves mandatory HR training? We had this mandatory training we were going to make you do, but you've improved so well that we're not going to make you do that anymore. And we want to know how we can best continue to support you. So her employer actually sponsored a period of time for her coaching. And Karen will share that this was her words, an answer to a 4-year-long prayer that within a few months, does that mean Karen is perfectly like 100% perfect and happy and has no problems in life? No, of course not. But that in a short amount of time, you can experience a shift. You can experience something very different. And if you want to listen to her story, you can go out to the webpage or go listen to the podcast. She goes into a lot of detail. But I'm just happy when I'm able to show people that you can wait for time to heal you, to make things better for years, or you can decide to do something different and to start creating the type of life that you want, and you can experience a huge shift in a short amount of time. What I tell most people is if you are in coaching or you one of the programs, after your first call, you're like, oh, this is different. Within 3 months, you're like, I'm showing up to these calls different. Like, hmm, interesting, right? And then the biggest leaps are between that 3 and 6 months where people really start to see big shifts and big changes. There. Okay. Okay. Self-discovery. This is season number 3. So we had rawness, we had isolation, we have self-discovery. And self-discovery, this is where we're in like exploring mode or discovering mode, and we're figuring out like who we are, and we're trying new things, and we're stepping forward. But this season is also super scary. And so I have up here a picture of a woman walking through a forest because I think about it that way a lot. Because self-discovery requires that we do things that are uncomfortable, meaning we try new hobbies, meaning we go to some place we've never been before. We go meet people we didn't know before. We are figuring out what we like, what we don't like. And all of that's very awkward and uncomfortable and weird and nerve-wracking and all of the things. And we do it as a step forward of faith that one day it's not going to feel that way. That on the other side of us doing all of these things, that we're going to have a beautiful life that we love and enjoy. But we can't see that. We hope it's there, but we don't know. So I think about it like you're walking on a path through a forest, and there are curves in the forest, and it's like Lord of the Rings, and maybe there's a monster in the bushes, or maybe, there's an ally who's waiting there. Maybe there's a beautiful adventure, or maybe it's a storm. Like you don't know because you can't see around the corner. You can't see the outcome, but you're taking a step forward out of faith that as you move forward, you're going to be able to experience a life that you enjoy, a life that you love again. So this is all about self-discovery. So in this season, you have little glimmers of hope, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be miserable the rest of my life. You are maybe curious about, I wonder if I like this. Like I went to a pottery class. I went to a line dancing class. I went to um, a paint and sip class. Like I did all sorts of different things, trying to get a feel for what I liked and what I didn't like. Some of them I enjoyed, some of them I didn't. Want to incorporate all the time, but this is a great time of curiosity, of wonder, of feeling like a child again, of like, oh, I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to try it. Feeling anxious because as we're rebuilding our social circle, we're starting to try to make friends with people, which feels super awkward and weird. And so one of the number one questions people have is, am I doing this right? Am I doing this like whole grief thing right? Because let's say we go out to Nathan and I used to go to the movies every Friday night, even if it was a terrible movie. We just like, I don't know, I just like going. I wish there were better movies out more often because I just love going to the movies. So we used to go all the time. And then there was a period of time, especially with COVID, right? That, going to the movies wasn't really a thing. And then it was weird going without him, right? Like the first time I was like, okay, I'm gonna try going to the movies. And so you go, and then all of a sudden you start crying. And you're like, why did I even try this? Why did I even do this? What was I thinking? I tell a story often that there was a time where I wanted to see Dr. Jordan Peterson. He was going to be speaking in Tulsa, which is a couple hours from me. And this was the first time, I think probably the first time at all, that I had decided to try to do something like solely for me, not the kids, not everybody else, but for me. So I'm like driving to Tulsa. It's a 2-hour drive. I stop halfway because you got to get the gas station snacks, right? So I stop like halfway, and all of a sudden I just start bawling. Like the makeup, everything, I was just crying because all I could think about was like, why are you doing this? Why are you pretending like everything's okay. You should be at home. What are you doing? Like Nathan's not even here. How are you supposed to go enjoy this, right? And I remember I got my little napkins from the McDonald's there and was like wiping my face off. And I was like, nope, I'm just gonna keep going. Drove to Tulsa. I went to the mall because I had some time before the show that night. And one of my kiddos starts having a mental health crisis at school. And it's like, I don't know if your kids ever do this, but it's like text, 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 and your anxiety, like I could just feel it like welling up all throughout my body. And it's like, I can't take this anymore, just whatever you can imagine that's among the worst things to receive as a parent. Just imagine it was being said, right? And all I could think about again is like, why am I doing this? Why am I trying? See, your kids need you. You should be at home. Why are you out? Like, who are you? Why should you get to have any fun? These kids don't even have their dad anymore. And you're out here like going to the mall, trying to have fun. Like, oh my gosh, right? Like all the thoughts that just sit there and spin. I text my mother-in-law, who of course was watching the kids while I was gone. She got everything handled, but it just threw me off the whole day. I share that example because when you're in this season of self-discovery, most widows get caught in this cycle, which is like, I'm trying something new. I'm trying to go meet people. I'm trying to do something for myself. And then this big wave of grief hits me and I get knocked back down. And then I give up because what's the point? I'll just wait. I just need to wait longer. I didn't give it enough time. Have you guys ever experienced that? Natalie says, this is when I realized I couldn't just be surviving in life. I need to start thriving in life. And Sue said, I love that. Yes. So when we're in when we're in self-discovery, what we want to focus on are trying new things. Okay, this is when I would be encouraging you to not just have a life where you're sitting at home on the couch watching Netflix. Okay, to meet people and to make friends, you have to get off the couch. And I know that this is very hard because I am a hardcore introvert. I like my alone time. I don't like big crowds of people. I don't like small talk. I didn't know what to say to people. Like, how's the weather out there? Yeah. Okay. I used to be socially kind of awkward. Okay. But I learned ways of navigating conversation, ways of connecting with people that made this a lot easier, and a lot more doable. So in self-discovery, I'm encouraging you to try new things, to build up your life, which is building up your social circle. Different, I teach you different types of people to build that up with. Teaching you how to create, again, that dream schedule of like, well, how full do you want your life to be? Do you want pickleball on Tuesdays and Thursdays? And then Wednesdays, we're going for line dancing. And then Fridays, we're doing this. Like, we don't need to stay busy all the time, but there's a good in between where you have a life that's full of things that you enjoy or that you want to do or that you want to explore, and not a life where you feel like you're just sitting at home and everything's just passing by. Okay, we learn how to take risks that where the stakes are low. Stakes aren't high, so it doesn't feel as anxiety inducing. We grow our capacity for what I call both and, okay? Which is a lot of times we think things have to be or. For example, I love the life that I had with my husband. If I say I love my life now, then people's reaction is like, oh, so you moved on then, right? Like you forgot about that old guy over there. You forgot about that life you had and you just like moved on. Because we think as humans, like, oh, well, either you love the life you had or you love the life you have now. It's not both, but it is both. It's both equally. And I can say that now. I wasn't able to say that for a long time, but I can say that now. But I teach you how to be able to hold these big emotions, right? So I was on a call with a client earlier who was like, I'm very excited about this and I'm very sad about this over here. And I go back and forth and back and forth. And I said, just do both. It's okay. You can be happy about this And you can be sad about that. And you can hold both emotions at the same time. So we learn how to do that. We also want to build up our community of other people who are on the same journey. There's lots of different widow groups out there. There's lots of different neighborhood friend groups that are out there. But if those people aren't on the same journey as you are, then you'll continue to feel unseen. You'll continue to feel not validated. Sue says, I was asked by my husband's brother and wife to make a decision if I wanted to go on a trip with them 2 months after the funeral. I didn't want to say yes, but I decided to say yes, and it ended up being a really great experience of healing and stepping forward for all of us. Oh, I love that. I love that. And we did one podcast episode on traveling through grief and how one person in particular did a lot of traveling and just grieved as she did it. And most of us would think like, well, if I'm going to go travel and I'm going to go on a trip, then it's supposed to be happy. And I can't go until I feel comfortable. I can't go until I'll be able to not cry. And my philosophy is go anyway, cry. It's fine. You can do both. So the systems that we use in self-discovery are the connection protocol and what we call the Discover Your Purpose plan, where we teach people that your purpose often feels like, oh, this is my one grand purpose. This is what I was meant for in life. But instead, we can have a smaller purpose, which is how we show up every day in our life, how we create intention and meaning. And it doesn't mean that we have to come up with this ginormous purpose. Okay, so warning about self-discovery here is that this is where most widows get stuck. This is really between seasons 2 and 3 is where I would say probably 80% of people that I meet and clients that I work with, that's where they are kind of in this like cycle of either feeling lost or they've tried some things, it's been really difficult, and now they're questioning if they're doing this right or what they should do next. Okay, are you guys still with me? Put me a heart or smiling in the chat if you're still with me. Speaking of Sue, let me introduce you to Sue Peters here on my screen. Sue is one of the OG Brave Widows who has been with me now almost 3 years, November-ish. I think will be 3 years. And Sue's also been very open about sharing her story on multiple, I'm on the button. Oh, she's also been on multiple podcast episodes and just been very gracious in sharing her story. But when I first met Sue, um, she hated being called a widow. And I totally understood that because I used to hate it too. It used to feel like a black label and like I didn't associate it with me. I was like, no, I'm not a widow. That's for the old people. That's like for the 90-year-old poor person who's crying in their house every day. That's not, I'm not, that can't be me, right? But what I have learned over time and what even Sue has learned over time is that being a widow is something, yeah, this person says almost 5 years and I still haven't called myself that. Yeah. Well, what we have learned is that a widow now is almost a badge of honor in a way, not of a way of dismissing the hurt and the pain that we've been through, but because so many widows I know are incredibly resilient, incredibly generous, have overcome so much, and are willing to keep giving to other people. It's amazing. Like, I'm proud to be part of that community because the community of widows that I invest the most time with are very giving people. They're very supportive. They're very much like sit with you in your sorrow and celebrate your successes. And that's amazing. Sue says, yes, it's been an awesome journey with you and the other brave widows here. Emily Karen says, I love your story, Sue. Yeah. So Sue, over time, she started traveling to new places by herself. which I think is pretty brave. She went on this whole journey of marrying her heart, which I know just sounds like you have to know what that means, right? Well, she published a book about it, and it's now an Amazon #1 bestseller called The Miracle of Marrying My Heart. And I was so incredibly proud of Sue. I lived vicariously through her as she was writing this book. And then, just like that, she goes and co-authors 2 more books, which you can find all those on her website. And like she shares in the chat, like she was terrified at first, right? Just life felt pointless. Just everything felt very scary. But I think she's just a beautiful example of someone who was willing to be brave, who was willing to step forward through the fear, through the uncertainty, through the I don't know how this is going to work out type things, and almost like that blind faith of just stepping forward. So great job, Sue. You are amazing, as are all of my Brave Widow peeps. Okay. Okay, so we went through the 3 seasons of grief, 3 of 4. So we have rawness, isolation, self-discovery, and now empowerment. I haven't referred to my husband as not on time either. I meet people that think I'm married. Well, that's okay. Um, that's okay. So, empowerment. Let's talk about that. When you are in this 4th season of empowerment, and the reason that I created this framework of 4 seasons is because if you're in season 1 or 2 or 3, I want you to know that season 4 is coming. So in season 3 of self-discovery, it's can be scary. We're doing a lot of new things. We're really growing very rapidly, and we're getting to have a little bit of fun. So it's nerve-wracking, and also we get to start having a little bit of fun. And when we move to empowerment, this is when we get to have the most fun. Okay, this is really when we feel confident. We can feel joy again. Like when I was widowed, my joy, if I was to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, my joy max would be like a 5 or 6. Like I genuinely did not know if I could ever feel joy so deep that it would feel closer to a 10. I know that today that it is possible, but then I didn't think that it was. Like I always felt like it would be like me watching myself laugh, not me like feeling it here. So you begin to feel more confident, you're more joyful, you feel purpose-filled. Bigger dreams start to emerge. And you may also have a desire to impact others. That doesn't mean you need to become a coach or an author or do anything in your mind that's super big, right? But impacting others can be how you show up for your family, how you show up and help friends, whether that is inviting people to your home, whether that is changing relationship dynamics, whether it's learning how to connect with people that sometimes frustrate you, but just a desire now to go beyond yourself and to be able to feel that you are growing, you're grounded, you feel very good about where you are. And now you're able to start supporting other people or showing up for other people or doing something that feels very meaningful to you. This is where we are here. So when we're in this season of grief and growth, we want to focus on is just really getting clear about your future desires, pursuing goals that are meaningful to you, growing yourself, and then beginning to lead or mentor or show up for other people. And that can look a lot of different ways. If you hang out with me, I don't care how many years you know me or you hang out with me, I'm always going to encourage you to grow. I'm always going to push you to the next level. Like I shared with you my client earlier who's like, "Oh, I want to move. I want to declare my house, but it's going to take me 2 years." I'm like, "Nope, it's not going to take 2 years. We can do this in like months, not years, right?" Or another client I have who's working on creating something that felt like it was going to take 6 months or a year or 2 years or however long that is. And we collapse the timeline down to less than 4 months. I believe that I am a lifelong learner. I always have been. I love to learn. I love to grow myself and my ability. I have coaches who teach me every single week. And I feel that it's important to just constantly be on a journey of growing and learning. To me, that's exciting. And that's what helps me feel alive. I don't want to be in a room of people where I'm the smartest person, where I am the most successful, the most whatever it is. I want to be around other people that challenge me to be better, to do better, to expand my own ability. And so, regardless of where you are and on your journey, and regardless of the things that you've accomplished, I'm always going to be encouraging you to do more, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, I wanted to share with you just very briefly here several of the folks that are in our Brave Widow tribe, because all of them are working on really amazing things. Whether it's, I have several people on moving right now. So I have several widows who are buying and selling a house. That's been a theme over the past few months. I have widows who are working on family dynamics, some who are working on just figuring out what they want for their life in the future, some who are focused on supporting and showing up for others. Like they're all doing just really great and amazing things. And so I want you to give them some love, send them some hearts for all the things that they are working on. So, might be wondering, what do I do next with all of this information? What am I supposed to do? What are my next steps? So, I'm going to take a break just a moment to grab a drink. So, if you have any questions over what I have covered, then please go ahead and put that in the Q&A box so that I can make sure I answer your questions, because I would love to start telling you about Brave Widow Academy and what we are doing there. Like I said, we may go over just because there was so much I was trying to teach you in a very short amount of time. Um, but that's okay. I'll hang out for a while if we do. So now that you can see where you are in the seasons, right? We had rawness, isolation, self-discovery, and empowerment. So now that you can see like where you are and what would be possible for you as you move through the next seasons, I want to share with you the roadmap and the support system that I use with my one-on-one coaching clients and the container really that I've created as we move forward to actually make these things happen. So I'd love to introduce you to the Brave Widow Academy. This is going to be the most accessible, the most complete program that I've ever created and that I know of, that help people go from feeling stuck, from feeling lost, lonely, unsure, to feeling very clear, confident, and connected. You are not going to feel lost or not know what you need to be working on next, which is typically one of the biggest challenges that we have. And let's be honest, most of us are trying to just piece this all together like a bunch of puzzle pieces, right? We have, oh, there's therapy, there's grief groups, there's books, there's podcasts, there's courses, there's, all these different things, but there's not something that really like brings it all together. And that's really been my mission with what we're doing inside of Brave Widow, what we're doing in the academy is to give you a roadmap. Like, even if you're at the very beginning, I have something for brand new widows. It's actually free on the website. I have resources for brand new widows all the way to people who have been widowed for decades. And I use the 4 seasons of grief as our framework there. So the reality is that you don't need more time. You need a plan, a community, and coaching that will actually help you to move forward. I talked with someone recently who she had been widowed 7 years. And when I was talking to her about doing coaching, she seemed really interested. She said it was exactly what she needed. And then she's like, I just don't know if I can really invest that in myself. I think that I just need to keep giving it some more time. I'm like, no, you waited 7 years. How much longer do you think you need? How much longer until you're tired of just giving it time before you decide you're going to have to do something different? I totally relate. I have struggled my entire life with being consistent with our workout plan. And I just keep thinking, I'll start Monday, I'll start Monday, I'll start Monday, right? Like I'll start after the new year, I'll start after Christmas. But time doesn't make me any more fit, doesn't make me any stronger, doesn't make me have more stamina. The only thing that time's going to help me, the only way time helps me is if I'm consistently taking action, if I'm consistently doing things, if I go to the gym consistently over time, then time helps me. But if I sit at home and I just wait, like, oh, well, I'll wait to go to the gym. I'm gonna wait and I'll wait to get fit. I'll wait to get comfortable to go to the gym. I'll wait to be confident till I know how to use all the machines. That time's never gonna happen. You have to decide to do it before you're ready. So when our first thought is, I just need more time, I want you to know that's actually a myth that we learn about grief. The Grief Recovery Institute teaches us that the key to recovering grief is action, not time. Okay, Karen says, I'm in this season now. My challenge is keeping on when stuff in my world threatens to derail me. But with the Lord and Emily's help, I'm moving forward and I recover more quickly. Yeah, amazing. And there's no like end point on this journey where you feel like, oh, I've made it. I have no problems. You just get more skilled at coaching yourself, at being able to navigate all of those things and get to a good place quickly. So, what is the Brave Widow Academy? So the Academy is a 6-month coaching program that will help you move through these seasons of grief and help you be able to build a life that feels meaningful to you again. It's not a typical support group, although we do support each other, but we actually have a structured program. There's a curriculum, there's a syllabus, there are tools that you will be using. There are worksheets. I had one of my clients say, is this going to be like college? I never got to go to college. And I was like, yes, it's going to be like college, but I'm not going to grade your papers unless you ask for it. So we're going to have real tools. We have live calls every week, and you are going to get individual feedback. So in a typical group coaching program, you might be in there with, obviously you're in there with a group and you don't necessarily may feel that you get a lot of one-on-one attention. However, this is more of a hybrid approach, meaning that I have a way for you to send in your progress each week. And each week, I am going to send you personal, private, one-on-one feedback of what I would focus on next, what I would do to navigate where you are, what your exact next step would be. You also have a community of other amazing widows who are rebuilding right alongside you. And you've got several of them in the chat. We got Karen, who I know is joining us. Sue is going to be in there. Sue, I got your email. You're in the academy. Don't worry. I've got you. Patty's going to be in there. Mary Ann. We have several people that are going to be in the academy with you. And you are going to get to learn from them, learn from coaching that they receive, and they get to learn from you too. So, what is in the academy here? So, we're going to have weekly live coaching calls, 2 hours every week. These are on Mondays from noon to 2 p.m. Central Time, and they're recorded. So, you get to watch the video replays if you can't come live. And I am throwing them up on a private audio podcast. So, if you're someone who likes to listen on the go, we make it very easy for you to be able to do that or multitask and listen and learn at the same time. You have a private community with people who are only other people who are part of the academy. I've already uploaded all of the courses and tools that are the foundation of what we're going to be learning. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to watch them all, okay? But there are lots of videos on there if you're a content junkie and you love courses and you love watching videos and you love learning, they're in there for your learning pleasure. But I will be walking you through each week the content that's in there and what you need to know, like the essentialist things that you need to know to be able to take a step forward. As Sue said in the comments, this is learning for an authentic and real life. Yes. You're also going to get private messaging support to me. So we are going to set you up on a messaging app, and 24/7, you can shoot me messages, questions, comments, struggles, whatever it is. And I respond Monday through Friday to you. So you have that support as well. And then let me see here. So I had a pre-enrollment bonus that's going through today, but it ends tonight. And then I have another bonus that's ending next Monday. So the bonuses that go away tonight are extra group calls. So we have our weekly call that you'll have access to. Then I'm also doing additional like open office hours calls where you can drop in and get real-time coaching, or if you want help navigating the system, or like whatever it is that you would like my help with, I will help you do that. You also will get 3 bonus one-on-one private calls with me, and you can schedule them at any time during the program. So you might want to do like start, middle, end, but they're there for you to schedule when you want them. And you also will get a chance to win a VIP day with me, which is a 4-hour experience where we do a deep dive on where you are, how we do a session where we envision your future and what you would like to see or what it could look like, and then come up with a very distinct plan for you. Or if there's something that you really want help with, like maybe you're at the point where you're dating or you are working on your resume or whatever it is, I will actually spend the time with you, hands-on, doing it for you. So you would have a chance to win that experience with me if you sign up today. Okay. So if you were to get this level of support, whether it's through therapy, life coaching, workshops, tools, whatever it is, you could easily spend over 10K this year and still feel like you're taking all the pieces of the puzzle and putting that together. I personally have spent multiple tens of thousands of dollars investing in my own coaching to learn how to navigate this and also how to help other people get through that. But don't worry, I'm not asking you to spend $1,000 on the academy. We do it's $600 a month for 6 months, or you can save $600 if you want to pay in full at 3K. Okay, so those are the 2 options of going through the academy. And because I've made it a hybrid of group coaching and one-on-one coaching, this is really my best, like, meet in the middle, the most accessible, the most value that I can package in this program. If you want if you want to upgrade on one-on-one coaching, that's 5K for 6 months. But the academy is 3K for 6 months. And one of our pre-enrollment bonuses is an extra month. So it's a 6 months program. But if you opt in early and you become one of our founding members, I'm actually doing a whole 7th month. So you get 7 months for the price of 6. If you're a bargain shopper, then this is like the best bargain. It's absolutely amazing. And the reason that I have created these bonuses is because I want you to get off the fence. Okay? I'm not here to convince you that you have to do this, you need to do this, you need to join it. I want you to feel at peace and to feel like this is something you're called towards, that you want to be part of. And if you're not, it's fine. But decide. don't be the person who waffles back and forth and spins an indecision for weeks and months at a time. Like, just decide that this is something that would work well for you or it wouldn't. And if you want help deciding, I do free consult calls. You can schedule them at my website, bravewidow.com. Set up a consult call. It's free. I don't pressure you. I don't try to convince you, but I will help you come up with your specific roadmap of next steps. I email it to you so you have it and you can implement it and you can do it without joining the academy. There's like, it's my way of giving back to you so you have clarity and that you can also see what is possible for you. So Sue said that is an awesome deal. Thank you, Sue. Um, Karen says, I'm a lifelong learner and can't wait for this to start. Yes. Also, we are starting with a pep rally. So I don't know when the last time many of you have been to a pep rally. I was homeschooled, so I never got to go to a pep rally. But we are going to have one for opening day on August 11th, which will be so much fun. So the reasons why you should join this round of Brave Widow Academy. First reason, you're going to become a founding member. And I've only done this, let's see, 2 other times. When we first started Brave Widow, and then when we did the mastermind, we had founding members. So I've only done this 2 other times where I've recognized members as founding members. So you get special merch, swag, whatever you want to call it, that I'm sending out for founding members. You also get alumni pricing. So when we do events in the future, you get special like legacy or loyalty pricing, however you want to look at that. You also will be invited to our inner circle so you can help shape the future of Brave Widow, that you can pour into what you want to see, what support you want, how things could be easier, what frustrations, you have with the system, whatever it is, you get to help shape the future of that. You get early access to everything that's already uploaded, the private one-on-one support, the extra month of sessions, extra group calls, the bonus one-on-one coaching calls, and then the opportunity to win a VIP date with me. I try to make this so like ridiculously valuable that you would feel silly saying no, that this is not right for you. So I wanted no excuses that you felt like you had to be on the fence or you weren't sure whether this is right for you. Karen says, pep rally, 50 years. Whoop, whoop, let's go. We got this. Debbie says, I'm so ready. Thank you. You are welcome. I am excited. So here are just some comments and messages from people who have been part of the coaching program or part of Brave Widow for a period of time. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to wrap it up. But you can watch, we have several video testimonials or recommendations from people. It's all on the front page. You can go watch the stories of people who have signed up. Oh my gosh. Sue just said she's going to throw in a free signed copy of her book, The Miracle of Marrying My Heart, to anyone who signs up. Thank you, Sue. That's so generous of you. Okay, that's a wrap. That's what we have for today. So, if you are interested in signing up, go to bravewidow.com, enroll in the academy. If you're not sure, go ahead and schedule your consult call. You don't have to have your consult tomorrow. It doesn't have to be a week from now, but at least sign it up. I will talk to you privately one-on-one. I will help you decide, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of peace. We actually have a decision-making tool that my coach, Dr. Betsy, taught me called the PEACE acronym. So I will help you come to a place of peace about your decision, so that either way you feel good about it. Patty says it can seem kind of scary. It may seem like a lot of money. However, at this stage, investing in yourself is so worth it. You will learn a lot about yourself. Yes. Everything I've invested, I think the most expensive was 20K that I invested in for 6 months. But I've invested everything from $1,000 to $20,000 and everything in between. But I will say each time I got way more value out of what I invested than the actual cost of what it was. So thank you for saying that. Okay. I hope that today was helpful, and I hope that you were able to identify where you are in the seasons of grief and what your next step could be of things that you can focus on while you're there. I would love to see you in the Brave Widow Academy. If you have any questions, just send me a DM, send me an email, schedule a consult, and I will help you decide. Until next time, I will see you guys later. The Brave Widow Academy is open now, and it's where I help widows just like you move from surviving to living, with a proven path, coaching, and a community of other widows who get it. If you're ready to take the next step, go to bravewidow.com/academy to join us. I'll see you on the inside.